Grateful to be here with you. How are you? Say hi. I'm getting all my windows squared away here. Got a lot of windows going on. That's going to go over there. That's going to go over there. We got Zoom over here. We're going to start it on Zoom. Zoom is up and running. Time for me to hit up the old Instagram machine. All right. Here we go. 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 I'm excited. Hello, hello, hello. Ashley says hello. Natalie says hi. Hi. Hi, everybody. Facebook, Zoom, and Instagram. We are here for the last day of the 5-day mindful eating solution. This is an important day. It's an important day. One of the most important days. Wait a second. I didn't go live. 1 second. Let's try this again. We're not live on Instagram. We're having a glitch. Gio says hello. Hello, Gio. Where's my Zoomers? Somebody on Zoom say hi to me. All right. I think I'm live on Instagram now. That took a moment. Shelly says hi. All right. Shelly says hi. We got some folks watching on Zoom, Facebook, Instagram. This is the last day of the 5-day mindful eating solution. Isabella says hello. Says hi. Okay. Denise says hello. Great. You're with me. I'm going to do you a solid, and I'm going to keep this really nimble because I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful to everybody that hung out with me for the last 5 days. It's fun. So today we're talking about practice, and I like to talk about practice in a few different ways. Hello from Calgary. Hello, hello. I want to talk about practice in a few different ways today, okay? Because over the last 5 days, I've given you tools, tactics to put into practice, and my hope was you were doing that, right? My hope is you were doing that. So shall we review the practices? The tactics, the ideas I gave you over the last 4 or 5 days. Sorry, I'm very inarticulate today. Very frazzled today, actually. Very frazzled today. I'm trying not to appear frazzled. This is one of my great skills, is even when I am frazzled, I'm pretty good at appearing not frazzled. I'm not even kidding you. Part of that is because I'm really metabolically switched on. I know that sounds crazy, but before I fixed my metabolism, I was a freaking hot mess. Like the littlest things set me off. I would get irritated. I would be irritable. I'd be just easily frustrated. I was never really an irritable person, but easily frustrated and flustered. And I'm like a Zen pool these days. Nothing gets to me. And I think it's because I'm not constantly in fight or flight mode, trying to just feed myself. Anyway, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath because I want to be here with you very presently. Okay, to review what you've learned over the last 4 days that you want to practice on day 5 and beyond. The first thing you learned was what? Your environment is going to make or break you. Whatever you have in your environment, you'll be tempted by. Or to put it the other way around, why have the things that tempt you in your environment? I don't see any reason. I fail to see the benefit of that. Apart from treats are yummy. Yeah, treats are yummy. Treats are yummy once in a while. If they're also the thing that make you kind of feel bad about yourself, feel badly that you're mindlessly eating, then I don't see any good reason to keep them in your midst. If you can change my mind, I am open to it. You let me know. Day 2 talked about the biochemistry of hunger, how your desires for food, whether you're hungry or snackish or peckish or just opening the cupboards looking for something, is probably low-grade hunger, low-key hunger. It's probably your cells are like, we could use some fuel. And you're like, oh, what do we got in the cupboard? What do we got in the fridge? If you feed yourself adequately at meal times, the in-between times, I'm telling you from experience, you stop looking through the cupboards. I rarely find myself looking through the cupboards. And if I do, which I did earlier this week, you might have seen that in my feed. If I find myself looking through the cupboards, it's because I know I'm hungry. It's like, oh, I should probably just eat a meal. So I'm just going to go boil myself some eggs, right? So if you can start to really nourish hunger, it's way easier. And I encourage you to consume more protein because it's just a powerhouse when it comes to satiating hunger and nourishing your cells. The third day was rhythm. So then it was like, there's a rhythm that your body expects to receive food. And if you can just kind of step in line with that rhythm, this all gets easier. So I'm saying let's front load as much as we can within the context of our schedules and whatnot. Put fuel into the front part of the day because that's when your body's actually expecting it and actually biochemically poised to take up and use this fuel. Yesterday, we talked about behavior, how your behaviors are triggered. Behaviors are actions that come from a trigger. And if you can get into the trigger, if you can become aware, mindful in the moment of what the trigger is, and triggers aren't always a bad thing. It's not like triggered, hashtag triggered. It's not always these goofy bad things. A trigger is just a thing, a scenario, a situation, environment, a time of day. Like for me, it's when the clock ticks to 8 p.m. It's like, that's wine time. That's my trigger, right? Just acknowledging them, dropping into the moment, and then making a different decision in the moment, because you're grown up. You're in charge of your decisions. Like, listen, you guys, mindless eating isn't just happening to you. It's a decision you're making in the moment. And the first 3 days of this 5-day mindful eating solution was about like, let's environmentally and biochemically set you up so this presents differently, so that you can make different choices when you're triggered by your common triggers. So yesterday we had to talk about what are those triggers. So I gave you guys homework to think back to your last sort of mindless eating moment. Can you identify what your triggers were? So anybody who wants to share their trigger, there's a few people who shared yesterday, like when the TV goes on, that's a trigger. When the kids go to bed, that's a trigger. After supper is a trigger because I want something sweet. It could be, I get in my car to drive home after a long day at work. That's a trigger. Maybe you stop at the drive-through like clockwork, right? So it's just acknowledging the trigger so that you can drop into that moment and make a different action. So that's by way of review what we've covered over the last 4 days. Capiche? Okay. So today, we're talking about practice. Why? Well, I can't just come in here and tell you 4 things to do and be like, okay, bye. You're done. You fixed it for you. You're all good. That's not how it works. You have to practice it. My encouragement is to practice it for a month. Start by practicing it for a day. Start by practicing it today and then practice it again tomorrow, and just keep practicing it on day by day. You might know, if you've paid any attention to what I say, whatever I say in the social media space, that I'm a pretty big fan of starting with the beginning in mind, not making any bold proclamations about like, I'm going to do this perfectly for 30 days. I'm like, try and do it really well today. And then the next day when you wake up, try and do it really well tomorrow as well. And just try to string together consistent action such that you can look back on a period of time and say, oh, for the last 10 days, 15 days, I really didn't have very many mindless eating moments. That's interesting. Like, so you can actually stack up some consistent action, and then you can have some success. So this requires practice though, because I didn't give you a magic bullet. I didn't give you some secret pill to take to stop mindless eating. I gave you ideas. I gave you, honestly, best practices based on my years spent as a metabolic health coach with over 1,000 clients that I've worked on with this stuff. I know this works, but it doesn't work right away. It works when you practice it consistently. That's just a plain old fact. Talia's trigger is when she's overwhelmed with her schedule. That's interesting. Some people are triggered by stress, triggered to eat, maybe snack more by stress, and some are triggered less. It's so interesting to me. But what's awesome is that you've acknowledged that, Talia. I think it's always awesome to acknowledge. I'm a huge fan. I am definitely going to pump your tires anytime you talk to me and say, I noticed this about myself, whatever it is. If you come to me and say, hey, I noticed that I do this when this happens, it's like, oh my gosh, I love that you noticed that. Let's celebrate the fact that you just noticed that. Guess what that is? Guess what noticing is? It's mindfulness. Mindfulness is noticing. So I just want you to start noticing stuff, right? So Talia notices when she's overwhelmed. That's her trigger. That's mindfulness, baby. That's amazing. I think there's a couple different types of practice that I was kind of thinking I would noodle on. And I did jot down notes very quickly. I'm going to try to see if I can find them. So I feel like there's two ways to practice this. Having my main meal in the evening is a trigger. I would like to know more about that statement. So your main meal in the evening, is this like your most predominant big meal of the day in the evening? Because I might know the solution for that one. See if Facebook's got any comments before I move on. When I get angry, I want to eat. Bored. That was my trigger. I'm not bored now. Good. It's interesting. Some people's triggers are emotions. I want to eat when I'm angry. I want to eat when I'm bored. Not emotions, states of being, sort of states of being, right? Boredom is a state of being. Anger is a state of being. Happiness is a state of being. Uh, and when our state changes, when our state changes, biochemical changes happen too. Like when you feel angry, your body perceives that something's wrong, and that feels like a stressor to the body. So there are little appetite triggers that can happen when we experience this different state of being. That's actually biochemically true. So then I go back to what we learned on day 2 and day 3, which is like, let's really take the reins of our biochemistry by just going through life well fed. This actually speaks to what I started with when I started this conversation, saying, you guys, I'm really frazzled today. I'm kind of scatterbrained. I had a really hectic day already. And I said, I don't find that I'm overwhelmed as much by this kind of hecticness, because I think it's because I'm like a biochemical Zen pool. I really do believe that. As far as my body knows, everything's fine, because I'm making sure to provide inputs that suggest that we're safe, everything's good, there's nothing to worry about. So I can have all kinds of crazy inputs that change my state of being, might make me frazzled or angry or whatever it might be, bored. Oh God, I wish I could be bored. And it's okay. Like, there's just no biochemical response to that anymore. Interesting though, I'm thinking out loud, I'm just totally riffing. When I went through a period of grief, things changed for me. I found grief, grief is an emotion where like happiness is more like a state of being, I think. I'm just totally thinking out loud here, but grief was something that definitely changed the way my body showed up and way things like hunger showed up. And that was really interesting to experience that. But like, when you think about grief, grief hopefully is a thing that happens once in a while. We don't have grief happening to us on the regular. Now, grief is long. I don't know why I'm talking about grief, but grief doesn't happen on the regular. Things happen occasionally that are going to send us in a biochemical sort of tailspin, but that shouldn't be the sort of baseline daily energy that we walk around it. Like frustration, anger, happiness, boredom, stress, just general emotions, those are happening day in and day out. So you want to have like a buffer, a biochemical buffer against these things, so that your body, as far as your body knows, it's like, this is fine, this is just a small thing. That's, which I think is actually, now that I'm down this rabbit hole, when you consider living through a global pandemic and all of the crazy stuff that goes down, that is a scenario that none of us is equipped for. So if you think about it, for the last year, we've brought inputs into the body in terms of emotion and state of being that the body has no idea really how to even manage. It's brand new. It's it's novel, one might say. So that's why a lot of people in my space are just offering kindness. Like, offer yourself kindness, because you're dealing with something you never dealt with before. And that's kind of how grief kind of falls in the same category. In fact, I've heard this pandemic sort of experience being likened to grief, because it's so intense emotionally. And it is so, it's just sort of like, it's just so once in a while. Anyway, let's get back on track. So practicing. There's 2 ways to practice, and you know which way is better for you. Number 1 is self-guided practice. So you simply take what I've taught you, which is absolutely robust. And if you need to go back and review it all, you click the link in my bio. That's for people on Instagram. On Instagram, you click the link in my bio. There's a link that takes you to all the replays of all the teaching webinars. If you're on Zoom or Facebook, you guys get the emails. So you can read the emails. You can go into the Facebook group. You can watch the replays. You have all this material available to you. For some people, some people can take that material and put it into practice by themselves. For a lot of very self-motivated people, this works amazingly well. So I've given you 4 relatively simple actions to put into place. And if you consistently practice those day after day after day, with just the beginning in mind, not any kind of bold proclamation in mind, you can change your relationship with food forever. And I'm not blowing smoke, I really mean it. The things I taught you here, if you're able to put them into place, this can change your relationship with food. These are some of my most foundational best practices that I work on with people. They are massive needle movers. So if you're self-motivated, practice. And let me know how it goes, by the way. If you think, yeah, but that's not me, I'm not self-motivated, well, then guided support, guided practice and supported practice is probably better for you. So this is exactly why I created the Metabolic Reboot, which is a 30-day coaching program led by me, where you receive 3 important life-changing gifts. So you're going to receive education. So everything you learned here and a whole bunch more. Education is really important. You have to learn something. You have to change what your understanding is of things. I feel like that's really essential, personally. Second thing you get is accountability. Now, everybody wants accountability. Like, I hear that all the time from my prospective clients. I want someone to hold me accountable. It's like, well, you need to hold yourself accountable, and I'll help you learn how to do that. But I'm a stranger to you. You don't want to be accountable to me because I'm probably not going to be in your life forever. So I really love to help you learn to be accountable to yourself. That's the second thing. The third thing is support, which is what we're talking about here. The support of a professional, the support of a community to help you practice. Practicing is not, which is what today's topic is, practicing is not smooth sailing. Practicing is inherently bumpy. You're for sure going to screw up, 1,000,000%. So when you have support, though, that's what helps you learn how to sort of bounce back. I've had over 300 people go through the Metabolic Reboot over the last 2 years since I invented it, and the outcomes are remarkable. So in the context of mindful eating, which is what we've been talking about here for the last 5 days, rebooters always report having a much quieter hunger, more well-managed cravings, and they feel like they have a really friendly and effortless relationship with food and their bodies once and for all. Like, sometimes for the first time ever, truthfully. So being as the program is called the Metabolic Reboot. So this week, we're talking about mindful eating, which is hugely important, but the reboot is a metabolism program. So obviously the reboot has metabolic benefits too. And on the metabolism side, rebooters lose an average of 6 pounds of scale weight in our 30 days together. And this is effortless. While they've also built this effortless relationship with food. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's the only thing I like doing for people, is helping them fix their relationship with food. And when we do that and fix metabolism at the same time, weight releases, not quickly. I'm famous for like super slow weight loss. I don't care if it goes quick. To me, quick weight loss is not to be trusted. So I'm not here for that. Now, the 6 pounds of scale weight in 30 days, which is the average that people lose in the 30-day metabolic reboot, much of it's water weight. Like, call a spade a spade. It's probably a good part of that's water weight, but that still counts. Like, losing water weight is not a bad thing. Why was your body holding on to water in the first place? Like, there's a question for you. Why was your body so eager to let go of all that water? So water weight loss typically comes as a result of focusing on our food quality and eliminating, just for a few weeks, the foods that cause or create inflammation in the body. I describe this in great detail in the reboot, so I won't make your eyes glaze over here. But that whole idea of inflammation, like if you're walking around inflamed and your body's holding on to water, you might want to get to the bottom of that. Like, you just might want to fix that, because walking around chronically inflamed just doesn't feel good. And so tons of rebooters have reported feeling relief from joint pain. Acid reflux is a huge one. Irritable bowel symptoms, IBS-y, poo problems, urgency. All of this simply by paying attention to food quality. It's a really foundational part of the reboot. And then the big benefit of metabolic health that nobody talks about is energy. So energy, mood, and your affect. So I talked about that already on this live. I'm like, I kind of roll through life pretty calm, even in chaos, because I fix this stuff. Like, my energy system is so switched on that I don't have chaotic ups and downs that I have to also manage in conjunction with the chaos of life. Like, your life is chaotic. The world around you is chaotic. So the world within you, if that can be quiet, that's just a better way of doing life. And when you're well nourished at the cellular level, when your metabolism is purring like a kitten, everything gets better. Everything gets better. Even things you wouldn't expect would get better. Like your mood, like how you show up with your family and your loved ones. I've had so many rebooters, like mom rebooters, who have said that their kids came to them and said, Mom, you seem different. Like, Mom, you seem like less intense, or Mom, you're not as grouchy. That was all the time. Because it's a body that's not in panic to be fed. It's not in fight or flight mode. So you're just less shakeable. You're more patient. You're more mindful. Mindful. Everything gets better. Everything gets better. So what I taught you here in the 5-day mindful eating solution that I want you to go off and practice, whether you practice it on your own or come practice it with me in the reboot, these are my foundational principles that specifically help with the practice of mindful eating and with your metabolic health and your relationship with food. But you still have to practice. You got to practice. 5 days doesn't fix anything. I wish it did. Believe me, I wish it did, but it doesn't. So we have to kind of put in for some long haul effort. So why not make it fun? Why not make it supported? But either way, whether you go supported or unsupported, you go on your own, go rogue, you're like super self-motivated person, you can be like, I'm going to hit the ground running. I'm going to practice these things Erin taught me. I'm going to report back in 30 days and let her know how it went. Sweet. If you're like, I could use some help, I got you. I'm going to tell you how to get in on the reboot right away. Either way, I want to hear from you. And after 30 days, give it a good month. Let me know how this goes for you. Have full experiences here. And I want to give you one more little pep talk before I really wrap this up, because I'm really grateful for your time and energy here. And I'll see if I can scroll through and answer some questions. The other thing to practice while you're practicing what I've taught you is self-compassion. This, to my mind, is what's missing in all of diet culture. This is where diet culture like dropped the ball, because diet culture taught you that if you're not succeeding, then you're failing. And if you're failing, then you're a failure. Now that's a judgment call about you as a human being, because what, you didn't make the right choice in one moment? No. If you screw up, if you eat the Oreos, if you overindulge in the popcorn or the chips or the crackers or the candy or whatever hyper palatable and highly processed food accidentally found its way into your pantry, you're not a bad person. That's all I can say is you're not a bad person. This actually says nothing about you as a person. What you eat, the way you eat, when you eat, how much of it you eat is not a judgment call. It's not a judgment statement. It has nothing to do with the quality of you. Don't take that on. So, all right, I'm kind of lecturing at you right now. Don't take that on. Don't let yourself talk to yourself like that. Those are just things that happen. And the reason why I really want to make this clear on this session is because as you go off and practice, whether you practice on your own or practice with me in the reboot, you're going to screw up. 1,000,000%. I don't doubt it for 1 second. You're going to screw up. You're going to fall off the wagon, whatever it is. So let's just prepare for it. Let's just be okay with it. Let's just go into it knowing that there's no expectation of perfection here. Face it, that didn't work. Come at me. Like, that all or nothing approach doesn't work. People think it does. Like, I'm all or nothing. For me, it's black and white. I have to be all or nothing. It's like, how's that working for you? It doesn't. I'm 100% on team gray. I'm in the gray zone. It's like, that's where life happens. Life is gray. Sometimes I'm killing it. Sometimes it's killing me. So I got to just be really comfortable in the gray. And that's why I can roll through life even during chaotic periods and just kind of be unravelable, because I've been training for this. I've been training for the gray area. Train for the gray area. That's what I love teaching people. I don't love teaching people how to be black and white. I don't love teaching people how to be disciplined and consistent. I hate that shit. I'm here to teach you how to be super moderate. Like, that's where I shine. And I think I would encourage you all to just start getting comfortable with just like being kind of moderate, like just being kind of, I don't know, normal, not normal, but like mediocre, I guess. Like, we don't have to be epic. We don't have to be hustling or crushing. As soon as we start stepping into that language, the second we have a slip, we're going to take that on as a judgment statement. I'm a bad person because I didn't nail this perfectly. So I guess my encouragement to you, and all I can do is encourage you. I don't have you in my clutches to really work on this with you, because you're just a bunch of pixels behind screens. But any choice you make, good, bad, or indifferent, does not say anything about you as a person. Right? You eat the Oreos, that's just a thing that happened, we move on. Right? So while you're practicing what I taught you, practice self-compassion. That's easier said than done. I actually have a resource I want to send out. I just got this in my inbox today. I don't know if I can, I probably can't paste it anywhere. If you're looking for a resource on self-compassion, I just received one in my inbox. It's just incredible. It's actually an online course that I came across. I think it's pretty cool. So if you're interested in that, send me a DM. Let me know if you want me to send you that link, and I'm happy to send that to you. If you guys on the Facebook group, I'll post it in there for you. So the reboot enrollment starts right now. So if you're watching this, I'm opening enrollment into the 30-day reboot, metabolic reboot right now. We don't start till May 1st, but this is the early bird enrollment period. Just because you're watching this either live or on the replay, you're going to get access to a discounted price into the metabolic reboot until April 21st. So it's a very short little pre-sale period of time. I'm going to give you the link to join. Now, Instagrammers, I can't give you guys the link. I'll try my best to put it maybe somewhere. But if you want in on this reboot, you send me a DM right away after we're done here. Send me a DM. Let me know you want in on the early bird reboot deal. I'll give you the special link and the special discount code to join. You guys watching on Facebook and Zoom, you're going to get it in your inbox literally in half an hour. So it's an early bird offer. I want you to get in on it so that you can have a plan to practice this with me. So you're going to learn what we learned here and a bunch of other stuff to help your metabolic health and your mindfulness and your self-compassion. We're not leaving that stone unturned. Hell no. We work together for 30 days. It's very intentional. It's extremely hands-on. It's a deep personal development program that's changed a lot of lives. And I got one more little bonus. I showed you guys this yesterday. I have this pair of AirPods kicking around in my house, and I would like to give these to somebody who joins the Metabolic Reboot within the next 24 hours. So you guys on Zoom and Facebook, when you get the link in your inbox, if you join between now and what's called 3 p.m. on Saturday, April 17th, Mountain Daylight Time, you'll be entered to win this pair of AirPods, which I will mail to you. Instagrammers, if you want these AirPods, you're going to have to DM me and say, Erin, I want those AirPods. Erin, I want the Metabolic Reboot, and I will hook you up in the DMs. Okay. Again, you can go off and practice on your own, or you can practice with me. And a bunch of awesome peers is already, yeah, we've got a lot of people already geared up for the reboot this time around. It's going to be epic. If you want to know more about it, I have a whole webpage devoted to it. You can click that link in my bio, Instagrammers, and you guys, I'll send it to you in the chat, in the Facebook group. But reboot enrollment opens right now. Early bird special deal until 21st, and then it's going to be up at the regular price. So you want to get on it right away. If you get in with the next 24 hours, somebody's going to get a pair of Apple AirPods. I freaking love AirPods. They're probably my favorite gadget. I'm like a total gadget dork, and these are my faves. I'm just saying. Maybe you already have a pair. Well, you know what? I got 3 pairs, so you can never have too many. Cheers to that. Okay, I want to go through and see if any questions came up. Lots of good comments on Instagram. Love the gray area. Awesome. You got to love the gray area. That's where life happens. Whenever I get a client who's like, one thing you should know about me is I'm very black and white. It's like, not for long. I'm like, let's go. I'm going to make you gray. If it's the last thing I do, it's way nicer to go through life just accepting the gray. Does that sound like, that sounds weird when I say that, because we're so used to like this crush and hustle culture, slay all day. And it's like, I'm like, I'm just going to take it easy today. I don't really feel like slaying, like, why? Anyway. Never underestimate the power of the little steps. Yes, my friend. Bradley David joined. Nicely done, Bradley. You're going to win these maybe. You're in the running. Okay, what's happening here on the Zoom machine? Denise says, I had a protein breakfast this morning and I was hungry all morning. Well, I would say have a little more. Have a little more. So I think this came up a couple of times in the Facebook group. People are like, okay, I'm doing what you're saying. I'm eating more protein than I have before. I'm still feeling hungry. So first of all, feeling hungry is okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling hungry. I think that that's actually something that diet culture kind of weirdly tricked us into as well, as like, hunger's bad. It's like, it's not bad. It's just your body asking for something. And for a lot of you guys who are really changing the way you eat, like changing from oatmeal to like steak in the morning is a pretty big biochemical shift that the body has to kind of catch up on. So you might experience like different hunger for a few days while your body gets used to it. So I would say just follow the rules. Just keep answering that hunger with just more protein and just put in a couple more reps and just see if that starts to change. We want to be really kind to our bodies when we're changing our inputs like that, because the body is super adaptable. That's one thing that's amazing about this thing, this technology we walk around in. It's so amazing. It's miraculous technology, honestly. And it is adaptable and it wants us to feel good. It wants us to be epic. And when we change the inputs, like some of you have been doing kind of drastically this week, it's just going to take a minute to catch up, but I promise you it will. So you have to kind of ride the waves. So if you're still feeling hungry, go get some more food. Just answer hunger. That's one of the things I teach in the reboot. One of my Eat Simple rules is always answer hunger with a meal. And there's so many reasons for that. In the context of mindful eating, we talked about it in the sense of like, feed your cells. Just do your cells a solid and feed them so that they're queuing up less problematic hunger for you throughout the day. And then you can step into mindful eating more easily. But there's a lot of metabolic benefits to it as well. Tara said, I had your voice in my head when I went grocery shopping last night and did pretty good with the shop. Oh, I love when my voice is in people's heads. That's my favorite. I love haunting people. I love haunting people. Natalie says, thank you so much for talking about grief along with the correlation of COVID and its impact on diet. That came out of thin air. I didn't even know I was going to talk about that, but I think it's important. Like we got big things going on. You really have to step into self-compassion. Just be okay with whatever shows up. Because like the first time I experienced grief, and the only time I've really experienced grief, right? Like you can't even articulate it, right? It's not even the kind of thing you can articulate. You did not know to expect it to be like that. And so, just kind of like, okay, here I am. This is what's happening. And the grief of being in this very bizarre situation that we're in sort of socially right now, culturally, we're all kind of in grief mode a little bit. So it's important to just recognize it. Natalie says, the noticing part is very impactful and actually stress relieving. Now I understand why I behave a certain way. I'm delighted to hear you say that, Natalie. That is such a wonderful comment. That to me just describes a level of openness that you have to learn about this stuff. I love when people are open to learning about their bodies and their brains and how all this stuff is connected. It can be really fun. I would love for you to think that it sounds fun, because it is really fun. It's super duper fun, and I like to make it fun. But I love that you're getting that out of this, Natalie. That's amazing to me. Okay, so gang, practice. Thank you for staying with me for a full 30 minutes. I wasn't hoping it was going to go this long, but this is important because any talking head that gets onto your screen and says, do these 5 things to cure your mindless eating forever, you got to take all that with a grain of salt. Unless one of those steps is practicing, and unless that talking head gives you some real damn talk about what practicing should feel like, look like, what you should expect, and unless that talking head helps you practice or offers to help you practice, then it's just, to me, it's just a lot of blah, blah. I can't be bothered with people just talking at me and telling me things to do to make my life better. It's like, I need something actionable. I need you to talk about this in the context of me. So in the context of you need to simply practice. Hopefully you want to practice. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but hopefully after spending these 5 days with me, you're like, I can practice this. I can do this. I can do these 4 things Erin taught me for 30 days. I can either do it by myself because I'm a self-motivated person, or I'm going to jump in on the reboot with Erin and have her help me. Either way, the reboot enrollment is open right now. If you're watching this on Instagram, there's a link in my bio, the reboot link. You can click it. The discount code is, I'll put it here. Hang on. I'm going to put the discount. I'm just going to do it. It's really creative. Wait till you see what it is. Wait till you see what my discount code is. I was so creative when I came up with this one. Okay. Discount code is early bird. Pin comment. So www.eatsimple.ca/reboot. Use code earlybird until the 21st, and you can get $40 off the cost of the reboot, which starts on May 1st. If you buy it before Saturday afternoon, you get entered to win a pair of Apple AirPods. I think these work with all different kinds of phones. I don't know, but they're amazing. All right, that's all I have. Practice. So practice right now. Like, don't start Monday. Just practice right now, practice tomorrow, practice the next day, just practice. Just gently practice. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just practice. Practice what you learn here. Practice self-kindness. And I hope to see you in the reboot. All right. This has been so great. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm delighted I was able to give you guys this education. It was fun for me. Hopefully it was fun for you. And I look forward to rebooting with all of you, beautiful humans, starting on May 1st. All right. Bye. Bye, Instagram. And goodbye, Zoom and Facebook.